I want you to get together.
Hello everyone. So what I'm going to do today is just recap a few things I mentioned in my recent live show. Just here, The Truth of Therapy Sessions number 25. Ghost masks, demon masks, ancestor masks. In this little presentation, if you haven't seen it already, I go through mainly Asian cultures and I focus for a little bit on the Bali culture. Because in that culture they have this particular entity here, a dragon of sorts, called a barong. And these are the good entities who fight the evil Rangda. So the Rangda is the demon queen of the Layaks in Bali, and what they do is act out while wearing these masks the eternal battle between good and evil. And the dragons defeat the dragon demon humans in some way. And this whole thing is just a talk about how most of these cultures seem to have a good demon versus bad demon battle epic they play out while wearing masks. Obviously, I would argue that what they're playing out is the fallen angels fighting their own children, the Nephilim. So the question that one side is good and one side is bad is out of the equation from that perspective. Because all we're really witnessing is the entities that caused the problem destroying the problem they caused and then reaping the rewards as heroes afterwards. That is the story of the fallen angels versus the Nephilim, I believe. And that's basically what we're watching acted out throughout these cultures. So go check out this video for more of a summary of what I said there, a bit more detail than the summary I just gave. It's fascinating stuff, but from there I go into all sorts of things, and I jumped onto a particular culture, the Thai culture. And in Thailand they have this 3-day festival. It's a merit-making festival called Phi Ta Khon. And here's I think a website that tries to sell the festival to you so you go and visit the country for tourism. But they say here, Phi Ta Khon, also known as the Thai Ghost Mask Parade, is a merit-making festival like no other in Thailand. It's held usually in June or July in the Lai province. While Thais typically are quite scared of ghosts and do all they can to avoid them, this lively festival honours the ghosts of the forests and the spirits of the community's ancestors, inviting them to descend on the town and bless their endeavours. So it's an ancestor worship festival again. It's always ancestor worship. Every culture we go to who venerates entities while wearing masks and embodies the spirits of these entities while putting on a costume, it's always related to the worship of ancestors in some way. Now, I've explained many times before, the ancestor spirits they refer to are not spirits of mum and dad or grandma and granddad or your great uncles and aunties. They are the spirits of the Nephilim. Those are the ancestor spirits they're referring to. And I believe the evidence is in the way these masks look. As you can see, they're quite horrific looking toothed monsters. It's quite terrifying to behold, to be honest. Now, what they do while they're running this festival is they walk around with giant phalluses and they throw them in people's faces. So someone else here who's describing the festival says the Bun Luang, the Buddhist merit-making holiday of worshipping the spirits, Phi Ta Khon, is held on the first day of the 3-day celebration that takes place in June. And for anyone who doesn't know anything about the festivities, it's an unforgettable start. Locals suit up as scary spirits and put on ghost masks, colourful patchwork garments, bells, and phallus amulets. The parade down the low farming village of Dan Sai, dancing, ringing their bells, and what might surprise newcomers, teasing the crowds by waving and thrusting a wooden phallus at the spectators. The festival originates from the ancient story of Buddha, to be prince, Vasudhan's return after being presumed dead. It was said that the celebrations got so loud they woke the dead up who joined the revelry. So there's the story. There's the typical backstory of these things. It seems something seemingly innocent, but then you look at the aesthetics involved with what they think a spirit looks like. And well, it's pretty much the same as all the other spirits all around the world. It's a wide, sharp, buck-toothed grin, multicoloured psychedelic patterned skin, a very jester, joker-like clownish appearance, and they always wear something akin to ribbons or multicoloured patterned clothing as well, not dissimilar from a lot of the African cultures who also wear masks to evoke and venerate their own ancestor spirits. But again, these archetypes just follow throughout all cultures. So this one is a fascinating one. I mean, you look at this mask and it's akin to something you would see like Venom in Spider-Man, or Carnage, the even worse bad guy. It seems like this archetype of the big wide-toothed grin is a symbol synonymous with what the spirits supposedly look like, and it's a very clown-like visage. So moving on from this, I started to look into Western perspectives on how they represent their ancestor spirits and what they think spirits look like. And I went deeper into something called Kukeri. And this is a very interesting one, and I have a National Geographic article about this, which I'm going to read to you as I show you some images of what these people dress like. But it goes like this. If you ever saw the Kukeri, they're just too amazing, says Gerald Creed, an anthropology professor at Hunter College and the Graduate Centre, CUNY. They monopolise the senses. You can't look away. The ritual is a public one. Profoundly ancient, full of spectacle and metaphor, around early winter or midwinter, groups of Kukeri don elaborate costumes, complete with fantastical masks and belts of massive metal bells, and accompany musicians throughout the village, dancing rhythmically to drive away evil and invite good. That's the simple version. Creed, whose decades of study in Bulgaria led him to write the book on Kukeri practice, would be the first to tell you there's more to it than that. He describes them as multi-purpose rituals. The bells, clanging, and the costumes, shocking faces, divert the evil eye. But the mummers' dancing path through the village also invoke the fertility of people, animals, and agriculture. Their origins are too far back to really know, Creed says, and while core elements of the ritual are found throughout the country, they're very variable according to location, region, and dialect. For instance, in communities near the Macedonian border, where animal husbandry is central, the ritual might go by the name of Suvakari, occur around the new year when sheep and goats are giving birth, and involve costumes with animal-like masks over woolen garb, and Kukeri, conducting the ritual around midwinter with more abstractly decorated costumes, might be more associated with the agrarian economies of the valley south of the Balkan mountains. Some Sarvakari rituals even take on elements of a mock wedding, where a symbolic bride and groom go from house to house accepting monetary gifts in exchange for bestowing blessings. The variable practice has also seen broader change in the last half-century. Once solely a young man's game, Kukeri is now practiced by men and women of all ages. Evolving views on gender roles are certainly one factor, says Creed, but when Bulgaria's population was decimated by communist agricultural practices in the 1960s and 70s, and again by a mass exodus of rural youth after 1989's economic collapse, women, children, and the elderly became more involved in Kukeri practices, simply because they were the only ones left. So going on to read the Wikipedia from Bulgarian translated into English here, so this is through Bulgarian Wikipedia, we can get a bit of insight into just how widespread this practice is and just how old it actually is. So the origin of the Kukeri games is often associated with pre-Christian Greco-Thracian cult of Dionysus. For the first time, this view was proposed in 1873 by Greek theologian Anastasias Hamouzidis, who, although he condemned the custom as a pagan superstition, saw it as an argument against Jacob Falmerea's thesis about the broken continuity between ancient Greece and the modern Greeks. In the first years of the 20th century, this theory was further developed by the English archaeologist Richard Dawkins, who found a number of analogies between the plots and figures presented in the ancient Dionysian festivals and the modern Kukeri games. This includes phallophoria, cradle with child, killing and reviving Dionysus / the king, titans / gypsies, and blacksmithing. The Bulgarian ethnographer connects the origin of the Kukers with the ancient Greek festival Anthesteri. At the same time, the Kukers are a part of a tradition of carnival masquerades spread throughout Europe, which in some places are very similar to the Balkan ones. For example, Bushayarash among the Croats and southern Hungary, Kurentovani in Slovenia, Chagata in Switzerland. Authors such as the Greek archaeologist Konstantinos Romios explains that even the more ancient origins of the ritual, widespread in prehistoric Europe, it precedes the Dionysian Kaligeros and the cult of Dionysus, and interpret it as a naturalistic fertility ritual. Researchers such as the Bulgarian historian Gavril Katsarov are skeptical of the ancient origins of the Kukers, which they consider to be insufficiently substantiated. According to Kastarov, the custom is rarely practiced in Bulgaria and is in a simplified form compared to its Greek version. So what we're gathering here is this thing has its roots in ancient Greek worship of the god Dionysus. Now Dionysus is a very interesting Greek character indeed. I've actually done a brief section of him in my book, but the gist of the story is, he was an outsider god who kind of came into the Greek pantheon and became one of the main gods of the pantheon of Greece. He was considered a foreigner god of some kind, but he was also dubbed the god of revelry, insanity, wine, fertility, theatre, anything to do with debauchery and having fun, basically, was what he came under. He got up to many bizarre and questionable things, but he was most famous basically from travelling with his pack of merry men and women, who were nymphs and satyrs. And from what I've researched, men and women who came under his spell and got drunk with him and followed him on this non-stop party basically slowly turned into semi-immortal humans. So they turned into satyrs and nymphs. That's bizarre, isn't it? So what we have there is an example of gods of some kind being able to transform humans into half human, half animal hybrids. Because a satyr, of course, is a half man, half goat. And it's believed this dramatically extended his followers' lives. So the trade-off was you follow me and you live forever type of thing. Now my own theory is that these gods of the pantheons were in fact the fallen angels. And they're the ones who, especially in the Greek pantheon, raped numerous mortal women and created offspring who were demigods, or as we can call them from the biblical perspective, Nephilim. So it's interesting that this cult of Dionysus still kind of has its rituals followed into today. So we have the wild men of Europe who go around dressed like this, and it's translated into a fertility ritual, which is what Dionysus was the god of. And they dress like spirits. In a sense, they're dressing like the demon gods that Dionysus was a part of the creation of. It's trippy stuff, but it seems to me like the more I research into cookery, the less they actually know about its origins and how old it actually is. They just know it's something they do every year, and they have a lot of fun doing it. But just look at the aesthetics of this culture, and it screams clown-like, and it's not dissimilar from many of the Eastern cultures we've been looking at as well. And the practice is the same, just with a slightly different aesthetic as usual. But this one in particular really got my attention. Just looking through some of these photos and you can see there's something trippy going on here. We have this conical hat which appears a lot during this cookery ritual, and you can make as many allusions to the KKK as you want with this, but I think this is something else. I think this is referencing, obviously, wizards were known to have conical shaped hats, and witches. People have been telling me this is because it's a way of channeling energy and the ether for the use of magic in some way, like a funnel to the mind, to the brain, to the third eye. But also, just looking at it, maybe it's a symbol that the entities had large heads, elongated skulls, like we know the Nephilim had as well. It could just be a simple reference to that. But you just look at these things, and I'm getting party hat vibes, what we do in like the typical mainstream Western culture, when we have a kid's birthday party and we bring a clown along, let's say, to entertain the kids, These polka dot pointy party hats are a common thing we make everyone wear. So it's just something to bear in mind, keeping it linking to this idea of the clowns, and where we get the clown from. I think a lot of the caricatured symbols we get in a modern Western clown may come from some of these practices in Eastern Europe. Fascinating. Anyway, I think I'll quickly just leave it there, guys. Just a quick one with this. I'll be coming back with some more information on this soon, and obviously I'll be going live on Sunday as well, as per usual. That'll be 4 PM Eastern Standard Time, and that'll be 9 PM British GMT time. But thanks for listening, guys. If you like what I've done here, please consider donating to the Patreon, and also you can go to the GoFundMe to support the book. But as always, thanks for listening, and God bless.
I want you to get together.